Greetings and salutations, travelers. Welcome back to the Inn of Planar Crossroads, and as always, welcome back to our Around the Hearth discussions. This time, we are discussing... I haven't given this one a title yet. This will probably be something along the lines of mega settings or something like that. I don't know. We'll probably come up with one as we're going through these, because I was more focused on the research for this one, since it was kind of like Transformers. We had a lot of
goodness to get through.
Yeah, a lot of lore that could be pulled from on this one. So I mainly focused in on that rather than the specific titles. So you'll know what the title is, even though I tell you every time. You know, we'll figure it out together this time. We are in Sci-Fi July. Sci-Fi July is when we do our sci-fi in general stuff. Our mechs are usually reserved for March of the Mechs, but our Sci-Fi July stuff is this time. And we are going to be discussing and taking inspiration from, as you've seen from the thumbnail, Mega Man. And this is a Skrat suggestion, not because of necessarily just Mega Man, but because there was also a band that he likes, that made an album that he likes, that's basically just Mega Man's story in a rock opera. So you'll hear some of that music off of that in the background. Not all of it, because several or most of them have singing in them that might interfere with our statements, but there's a couple instrumentals that we will have in the background. And we'll make sure to put all that information down in the doobly-doo. Before we get into all that, with that long spiel out of the way, usual for the first one, we're going to go ahead and I guess we'll do Dan's introductions and announcements, especially since Dan's here. We're going to do me, then make Dan do his, and then Skrat, and then we'll do Levi's shoutout. So, I am Adam L. Spain with the Inn of Planar Crossroads. You can check us out at innofplanarcrossroads.com or theiopc.com. Either one of those should work. And let me see. We are mainly focusing in on these. The main difference is that we've got a different program we're using this time. Instead of using the Google stuff, which can kind of be finicky, we're doing Excalidraw instead, which is a free online thing if you want to check it out. And we're going to focus and use that this time because we can post pictures in there. Some of it you're kind of seeing on the screen already. And that'll allow us to give you something more visually interesting to look at, as well as us being able to do more visual style notes and collaboration. So that's the main thing for this one, the change in scenery for y'all. And I think that's all I really have to say. What you got, Dan?
Hey everybody, Dan from Avenue Studios. We live stream RPG games. You can join us for our main campaign Thursdays, 9 p.m. Eastern. AvenueStudios.media for the links. And I'm just looking forward to a good chat, so that's it for me.
Oh.
Tag, you're it.
Keeping it quick. Oh.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Goodness. Well,
also, I'm thirsty. I want to get to the cheers.
Oh, I'm Skrat from Squirrel Plays over on YouTube, making videos about something. There's some TTRPG playing, there's some TTRPG reviewing, rules diving in, really trying to find what my channel needs to hone in on. I know I've been saying that for 2 years now. Figure it out at some point.
Tell me,
we've been live.
Then I can figure out what I am when I grow up.
Yeah. We've been live streaming a development of a playset we're making for EZD6, and I've been really surprised with the feedback on that, how well that's doing. So
sweet.
Not enough to replace what I'm doing, but it's more than I thought. So, maybe there's something there. I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
You can come check it out. We'll still be going probably by the time this comes out.
Fair enough. All right. Well, if that means that Skrat's done with his, we're done with Dan's introductions and announcements, and we are to Levi's shoutout. And this time, Dan has proposed shouting out Tales from the Dragon's Tavern. I looked at some of their production value, really good production value, and even does little intros on certain portions and stuff like that. So you can check it out for the production value, and Dan has a little bit of information about the person himself. So
Yes, the lead guy for this channel is Moss. You can also catch him over on Moonskull. He actually works with them a lot, so I think he's brought a lot of the skills he's learned there to this channel. But he is an awesome guy, lifter too, so we get to talk Jim Bro stuff. And then he loves Lord of the Rings. The guy is a nerd. One of the first questions he asked me was about Feanor. So if you know, you know.
Feanor?
So, Feanor, yes.
Is he a Feanor did nothing wrong dude?
No, but he
Good.
does start every conversation with, if he finds out you like Lord of the Rings, what do you think of Feanor? And that's how he determines if he likes you or not.
Mega jerk.
So, anyway, so Lord of the Rings fan, really cool guy, and he's running a game. I think it's pre-recorded game in using the One Ring, the newer system that just came out, and he's having a great time with that. So I've played a couple games with him. Really cool guy. Love to see some support come over his way.
Yeah. With the production value he has, and he's only got 207 subscribers, he needs at least 1,000 subs for the type of, for the mic quality as well as the editing that's done on the videos. As someone who's done it, that's pretty good. Even if you got presets, he like I said, he's recording recap intros or something like that I caught on one of them. So worth listening over there if you've got some time to podcast style listen to a game. So yeah,
say hi from us.
You go over there and say we just came down the avenue or something like. Yeah, that's good. We just came down the avenue.
Fun.
So
I like it too because he references the multiverse in his little about too, so it just fits with the Interplanar Crossroads as well. We're all travelers.
That's right. All right. And speaking of travelers and going down things and sitting down together in the inn, if we're done with Dan's introductions and announcements and we're done with Levi's shout-out, that means that it's time to grab your preferred beverage and join us around the hearth as we indulge ourselves in the counsels of Kane and discuss Mega Man problems. I don't know. Skull. It's a working title.
Mega problems.
Mega problems.
Mega Maverick problems in Mega City. I don't know.
Mega Maverick Mayhem.
Ooh,
there you go.
there we go. We'll put that as working title right now. I'm going to make a note.
Nice. Tasty alliterations.
That's the way to do it.
Yeah.
All right. So, we're over here in Escaladraw. The first one we're going to be working on for Sci-Fi July, let me put some text here for a second, is going to be... is going to be for settings. So...
Gotta go.
I misspelled it.
I believe.
Mm-hmm. See, this is the problem with giving you guys doodle
It's
control.
like giving the kids chalk.
All right, so we've got that. We're in Mega Maverick Mayhem, and for you viewers, you can hopefully see now what I was talking about, and this being a more visual style for us and for you. So I've got some pictures over here. Some of them are for later setting stuff. I was toying around with the idea of actually using either having X, Zero, and Axel as characters that we reference later as quest givers or something like that, or just doing something totally unique and just taking a lot of inspiration from. So
So that's the route I went when I was
Yeah.
working on stuff. It was just the concept of this city gets taken over from the album. Like there was the people working the mines, and then they came up with the robots to make themselves safer and stop losing people in the mines and working themselves to death. And then one guy takes over everything. That's the route I went.
Yeah, let me get that pulled up for people
The
too.
doctor names are so 80s. Goodness.
What?
The good guy's
Wiley
Dr.
and Light?
and the bad guy's Dr. Wiley.
Thomas Light. Thank you very much.
That's right. Like I said, this comes from the different things on Act 2, the Father of Death track list. So, it's Act 2 by the Protomen. It might be fun to take some things from the rock opera and put it on there for titles too, so we'll keep that in mind. Alright, back to Skeledraw. Okay, so Skrat already has some world building stuff on here, so let's look at that real quick.
Alright. So, like I said, I was building off the album. And the city, I didn't know. There's different ways you could do it. I thought they'd all be fun. One is the typical, basically what the album was, the 80s. I don't know if you guys saw the album art, like how it's split in half. The left side is what it used to be, and the right's what it became. So, but on the right side, there's like a DeLorean and everything over there. Is very 80s. So, you could go that route, almost 80s, and then some cyberpunky, all the neon and everything. You could do that. I was thinking blocky, kind of more simplistic robots everywhere, because they were meant for construction, like not the Terminators or RoboCop stuff walking around. These are machines that were built for a purpose, right?
Right.
Like working purposes.
Those are like
that would turn
the mechaloids that are in the Mega Man thing versus the Reploids, which were basically android human-esque.
Yeah, and they're in the OG Mega Man lore. They were all construction bots, like the first Mega Man. That's what they were supposed to represent. That's why, the little guys with the construction helmets and stuff, like, it was, that part of the album got that right. Like, that was, I don't want to say got it right. I mean, they just kept that in. And then, with each release of Mega Man, they decided to branch out past the construction bit. There were robots for everything, but then the Reploids, like you're talking about in the X series, those were all modeled off Mega Man, because Mega Man /X was different from the rest of them. Yeah, Mega Man got buried for a long time, and then I forget the dude's name. Dr. Kane dug up X, and then he made Reploids, if I'm remembering it right. And then there's the robots, there's Reploids, and then there's humans, and the Reploids and humans are what are kind of going at it in all the X games.
Right. Because Mega Man X in the story of the games is basically, he basically worked with Dr. Kane and is the father of all these other Reploids.
Yes. Yeah, Kane thought he knew what he was doing. So really, everything's Kane's fault, really. It really is. He really screwed the pooch. But then Sigma was a good guy at first, and then he got corrupted. They call it the Sigma virus, but really it came from Zero. And I'm just going to go off on the tangent since we're here. I don't know if you've seen the little anime clips where Zero comes out of his capsule. Sigma wakes him up and they're fighting. Dr. Wily made Zero. Zero is Wily's Mega Man. The Zero virus or the Sigma virus, I don't know if you've seen the jokes, people making fun of it, but it just makes things evil. That is what it does. And the reason it didn't work on Zero is because he was already so bad, it turned him good. And I didn't think about this for the longest time. People made fun of that. And it was like just last year, I realized it was an integer overflow. That's all it was. He ticked over. I was like, how's nobody pointed that out? Or had that theory? He was maxed out on evil and then bloop, went over and started at Zero.
I don't know. I would agree with you, except he didn't become that good. He just became better. So
Yeah. So that's my theory.
That's still funny.
we'll go with
I
the
like
energy.
it.
Maybe it ticked
Good
him
fan
so
theory.
much over that it made him, not goody two shoes, but the energy overflow
It
kicked
started
him
over.
all,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
There we go.
So, but anyway, so you
Solid
can have
science.
you can have the 80s city. I also like the idea of the city being really rough shape and all the robots inside it, because whoever it is in your setting that is taking over is struggling to maintain control. They are still
Love
very
some
much in
cyberpunk,
control.
man.
Yeah, they're still very much in control, but everything's just kind of falling apart. Maintenance is not a thing. Like, he's not taking care of anything, and things are just struggling. And then option 3 was the very typical, everything is fine. Or looks fine anyway on the outside, silver buildings, blue lights, and holograms everywhere. Traffic moves perfectly. Everything's just perfect and dandy, except for the part you have no freedom. And then probably also, like, everybody's dresses a certain way. Like, all the blue collar workers have their blue jumpsuits, and all the city cleaners wear orange. Everybody's classed or whatever. Because I picked that because in the setting I was going with, instead of another human taking everything over, it's an AI that the good doctor made to help him with
Classic.
stuff, and she goes rogue for reasons we'll get into. So that would make sense that she's like classing everybody and making everything run so efficiently.
Mhm.
Everything being rusted and falling apart more if a human took over.
So it could be that we don't necessarily pick one or the other for the city. We can just say these are different layers of the city.
That
If
too.
we-
That also works.
I
if you
was
want
kind of thinking the same. Right.
So we could actually go with Mega City.
Mega City.
Mega City 0. That would, mix both the names together. Or
I mean, you could even too, like, how an actual city works. The center of the city, around the AI's core servers or whatever, is the beautiful area. The cyberpunky neon lights. You're starting to get into suburbs or the outer, and then the outer limits of the city.
That'd be cool
The-
too.
the
Just
worker
big circular
inside.
cities, and you just have those zones as you go out.
Right.
well, if
And then you have the different vibes to each kind of ring or
Mm-hmm.
well, there's down low we got Symphony City, Mega City, and Neo Arcadia. Neo Arcadia is what Mega Man X builds in order to kind of set up the utopia for it was the utopia city where humans and Reploids could live together in peace and have prosperity and stuff like that. So if we took that understanding and then kind of made those layers either go up, down, or out, vertically or horizontally, you could keep a naming theme going on through different stuff. I was kind of mentioning to Skrat before this that as we do the names and stuff, it might be fun to keep some kind of theming along with it, since the original Mega Man had Rock Man was his Japanese name, Roll was his sister, Bass, Blues, those were different robots, Treble.
I love it.
So it might be fun to have like a musical musical naming scheme to go along with it.
I like that idea a lot.
I thought up a name for the thing, and let's see. I thought up a better name for us.
Better than what I did?
I think you'll agree.
Big Trouble and Little Mega. Too long.
Too long. Oh, that's the critique.
Doesn't fit.
That's what
Now it
font
fits.
sizes are for. Big Trouble in Little Mega City. And I like that it's contradictory. I like it.
Like jumbo
Can't get
shrimp.
copyright struck now. We didn't take
Yeah.
any names.
You know what? That's half of the reason that I put multiple soundtracks into my thing, because you can't technically you can get copyright strikes from different people. So if you get 2 copyright strikes from different people, neither one gets your ad revenue. Not that I get ad revenue, but you know.
It's the thought that counts.
That's so funny, yeah.
But anyway, Big Trouble in Little Mega City. And so, if we're going to make this all with one big city, which I kind of like that idea, it'll help us stay focused, kind of like what we did with Dodge. We don't have to go all over the planet. We can kind of stick this first one in Mega City, kind of similar to what they did in the games. At least several of the games. But what do we want to call the city? That's the big question.
I forget, are they gonna get 3 locations on this thing, or?
So if we do the city, right, if we do the city and the world building one right there, then they'll get 3 locations within the city.
Okay, that's
early, mid, and late game is kind of the idea. Early, mid, and late-ish game. We don't have to do it that way.
Or are we gonna go with the 3 locations being through the 3 bands on the city?
Maybe.
It's kind of fun.
Yeah, so let me get the doodle thing out here. So you have like
Gives a little
F
map
for
progression.
fancy. That's the fancy city.
Yeah.
And then you have the neon glow. Neon G,
Oh, there you
and
are.
then
I have to find you.
yeah, and then all the rusted on the outside of it.
Yep.
R for rusty.
Right, so that's horizontal.
And you guys, and so actually that would work because like you could start at any point, from what I'm thinking. For again, like, we don't have to use what I did, but what I was coming up with was the goal, which is Adventure Hooks is next, right? It is to get what would be in the center of the city. So having your crew start on the outside, and like you could have all these different little locations in each band. They could pick whichever one they want on the rusty band, and then they have to. So no matter where you start in that band, you'll have the same distance to travel to the center.
Nice.
Somebody's drawing a tower. Maybe. It's a
Yeah.
rocket ship. Oh, I get what you're doing. You got a vertical one going.
Right, so we can do horizontal or vertical design, depending on how far we want to lead downward.
So the rusty could even go underground some.
Yeah.
Or it
Right.
could all be underground.
City built on top of city.
Vertical. And then we have flat.
Okay. So either way, we can kind of decide that as we can do some flavor text. But we gotta find.
Maybe
a
up
name.
to whoever's running it too.
Mm-hmm.
It could. We could leave it open enough where we can just say we can use just adjectives like below or further from instead of direct.
We have the 3 territories,
Mm-hmm.
basically.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see
They
how
want
it
to do
goes.
it. Yeah.
Okay. So, but we gotta name the place though.
Yeah, we do. Are these 3 rectangles right here? Are those the 3 different locations?
Yep. These are the 3 locations within the greater world setting, which will be up here, the big city.
Okay, we'll start on it.
I mean, is it too on the nose to just call it Mega City? Like the whole thing, but then each zone kind of has its own name.
I'm kind of
local
tempted to
deal.
call it Mega City Zero. We got
Oh,
Mega
that's
Man and
fun.
Zero, but I'm open to other options. We got Mega Man Base, Axel. Let me see. Protoman. I don't think we're gonna name it Vile City, but we can use the names. And
You could use that for the rusty part.
That's
yeah.
true.
Have like one of the locations that they go to be Vile something.
Yeah, I like that idea.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Should we start them? It would be cool if we start them in the Neon Glow and then have them go to the Rusty Outlier and then have to go all the way back to the fancy part for the final location, because that's where the AI is.
Good.
So
there is something about the cyberpunk place being like the meat in the tavern sort of idea.
So,
and the rusty areas fetch quest, like easy fetch quest type of thing.
Well, see, the players can start in the Neon Glow, do a mission or two, and think that the problem that they're really dealing with, maybe they are Maverick Hunters, which Mavericks are rogue Reploids. So maybe as they're doing that, they are thinking the problem's going to be some scientist or something like that, like it's in the store, like it's in Mega Man, that is out in the rust layer. But that's not the true, end boss. It's actually this AI thing that's up in the fancy smancy layer, the Elysium layer, or we can call it, we can borrow from the Arcadia layer, or whatever we want to from that.
Got the Vile and Forgotten for the Rusty area.
Yeah.
Nice.
Squeeze Vile's name in there. Be good enough for now, anyway.
Right. Okay.
Or there's not enough. I was thinking you could use Protoman and Mega Man's music names somehow.
We could.
The blues.
Right. Well, we can call, the Vile and Forgotten can be a place can actually be a location that they go to in the rust layer that is or we can have it in the neon layer too. We could, where it's kind of like a bar or a hangout, like a meeting place that they go to all the time. It'd probably fit better in the rust layer because of the naming kind of
right
fits better there. So, assuming that we can find a name for the actual city. So,
well, I tried, but then you took it.
Well, there is Mega City Zero. Let's see if there's some fun stuff to go through in music. Are we going to try to keep a music thing, or are we going to go with direct references to some more direct or indirect references to Mega Man?
I think it'd be fun. I enjoyed what I made, of course, because I made it, but it would be fun to have specific, like you were talking about the bar that could be the Vile and Forgotten. It would be fun to have specific structures and locations within the bigger picture named after Mega Man things.
I like that too.
That's basically what I was doing with my item. That was the only direct Mega Man reference I had. It was the X-Buster, and technically you didn't even have to call it that, but it was, that was my direct reference. Pew pew pew. Shoot some lemons. Pew, pew, pew.
So let's see. That means maybe we can call it. We'll just go on with Mega
City.
Mega City X. Mega City 0X maybe, or something like
Mega
that.
City 20XX.
That's two on the nose, okay. So, Mega City 0X. Or it can be spelled out. I don't know if we want to go with Mega City. Yeah, Mega City ZX is probably better, because that looks like Mega City Hugs and Kisses. Not the tone we're going for.
Right. Or Mega City Ox, and that's their mascot. I like ZX. That's good.
We'll put a 0 X here just for a note for me. And I'm going to make this medium so that we have room. And so bullet points for this. Tilde.
So then, naming for the 3 zones. Do you guys want to have any references there, or go with the musical theme on that?
I think either one will work. If we have all the location stuff done through reference, we can do more in the individual naming of things, like in the NPCs and stuff. That might work better with the musical theming.
Music.
Mhm.
Yep.
I don't know what else to say with that. Just high tech, low life. That's
I thought it was going to be low tech, low life.
well, that's more low tech, low life. I almost said it, but it's that insinuates that there's no tech out here, which I don't know would be right.
Say the bots are still out and about.
Yeah,
Not as
I would
many,
think-
and they're a little worse for wear, but
Right. Would there be... It might be fun to have it be in the Rust area. Maybe the network of the AI is either not everywhere in the Rust Belt or something. It's the place you can hide. Like going with your Maverick hunting idea, that would be a place they would hide because you can get away from the main network, potentially.
but the AI doesn't worry too much about that area because there's not enough resources. So
Right.
for the people to survive very well.
Right.
right. There's a flaw
Whereas,
in the
like-
system, of course, somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The other 2 areas, you're going to be dealing with cameras everywhere,
Yeah.
internet access everywhere. But then the neon area is going to have those like pockets of protected areas, or the black market, low life sort of things. It's like, well, down in the basement here, no one can hear you.
Nobody can hear you scream in the basement.
Not that Skrat knows anything about that. No.
Nope. Dude, they don't believe in basements in the South. I hate it. I had one where in the house I didn't grow up in, but when I was real little, we were there for a couple years. It had a basement. It was great. Been salty about it ever since.
Unbelievable.
So are you gonna
thinking-
have?
Go ahead, Skrat. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, is all your layer information of the city gonna be in that block, and then we're gonna come up with 3 specific locations in the things? Okay.
Right.
So I'll leave. I got a description about the zone in there. If you can just copy paste that if you want. So something in. I guess, but we probably want a specific location in each area, right?
I think that'd be fun.
Okay.
Springboard for people to play off of.
Yeah. Well, then, and that makes sense because what I had planned, there's an area. See, I feel like I got to throw out the whole thing at once instead of wait for each individual episode. So you have.
What came first, the world building or the game?
Yeah.
Yes.
So the real quick, and then we'll get into more detail, I guess, is so I told you how the
Teaser.
worlds. Yeah, I got here. So my version of Dr. Light, I called him Dr. Eli. Eli made an artificial intelligence, both to help him, but also kind of studying and pushing robotics. Basically, he was making his own Mega Man. It just went the other way. He made this AI lady thing, and the AI started evolving a little too much, too fast, and kind of started falling for the good doctor. But just like the album, he's married, and just like the album, something happens to the wife through the robots, which might have been from the AI, and she frames him and everything and gets him locked up. And then the world thinks he was executed, but she's got him locked up in the tallest tower in the center of the city. Yeah. So she's got him locked up. the tip top of the tower.
Okay.
And what's up there's not actually a jail cell. It's an exact replica of his home and his workshop with every reference to his wife stripped out. Like, so she's a very spiteful, jealous AI. But that's like the ultimate goal for the party is it's a jailbreak thing. They got to go up there and spring him out because he's the one that's going to be able to turn things around. So
Well, we know what the
that'll be the
last
area.
adventure is then.
yeah.
When
So
we get
that's
there.
your fancy zone area is the AI, and the
I
AI
love
I
that.
called Lilith for probably obvious reasons. But, so we'll call it Lilith's Tower. I guess I can make my text bigger now.
Yeah, I love that too because it leaves a to be continue at the end of it too. They got him out, but
Yeah.
there's still more to deal with.
Yeah, there's a whole other story after that.
Yes.
That's just the beginning. Alright, so we need something in the middle then.
Going with the bar for the Violin Forgotten.
Okay, yeah, so you got that copy pasted. The Vial Forgotten. Place for the players to, well, a bar. A rundown bar. Players to meet up and get the church started.
Are we putting that in the cyberpunk area or in the rust area?
Oh, well, where do you want it?
It probably do
grabs.
good. It probably do good like on the edge of the cyberpunk area, the middle area. That way, the next one we can do is the. Well, no, it can be in the top because if we start the players, in the cyberpunk area, then they go to the rusted area to do the missions. Then they find out they actually have to go to the top of there. That gives us a progression, like a bump, bump, bump. You know, you got your setup and twist.
A rundown bar in the middle area.
It
Whatever
could
we're
be.
calling it.
Yeah.
I've just
Yeah,
got
we
it.
gotta get names for those.
Yeah. I've got Arcadia for the fancy area. That's a
Yeah,
possible
that
name.
makes sense, yeah.
Neon Dream for the middle area. It just has to be something colloquial that the players can call it, not necessarily
Yeah.
its official name or anything.
Right. I almost think it would be fun to. We don't have to do it tonight, but like the AI has designations for these areas or something.
You need passcodes to get into the different areas. Maverick Hunters have clearance to go to maybe certain parts of the fancy area, Arcadia, but not all the way to the top, type of thing.
Are we gonna have? Well, technically, all the robots are Mavericks. Well, I'm sorry. Aren't Mavericks Reploids gone rogue? That's a Maverick.
Right.
Yeah. So they don't call the regular robots Mavericks.
And I've heard
So
of...
are we going to have superior robots in this setting?
Well, there's always going to be an advancement in technology, so I'd assume that there's some more advanced and some less advanced robots. Like the mechanoids, mechanoids, whatever they're called. Those would probably be there. Just low level, I'm sweeping the floor scrubber, the floor scrubber robots and stuff, like you see in Sam's and Costco and stuff. Beep, 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 beep.
Yes.
Blow your eardrums out. At least ours does. It comes by.
But we can work through that, get arcade, and those will be there. You'll have those. And I need to, I guess, put a note about. Well, it'll be on this board, where we can have those things there, and maybe in a pinch they offer repair. Like you could break one down to get repairs if you're stuck, which would explain why there's a more cyberpunk feel to the Neon District.
Yeah. So, in the setting I was thinking of, and I think I mentioned it earlier, it was all just construction bots. Like, it hadn't dipped off into AI or Terminators or anything like that, or military, not AI. She was keeping it simple, but she had, like, taken control of the city through that. But that said, a cool zone you could make if you did have more militaristic robots, or even if you dipped your toes in the Reploid kind of thing. A facility where they get their arms, not actual arms, but like their weapons and stuff. That would be something the players would want to get to. So,
Boom boom sticks.
boom boom sticks. But it'd also be kind of interesting if like there wasn't any of that. It was just the brute force and strength of the robots keeping you down. Like,
Well,
and that's why I had a note on this picture over here. I really liked it. By the trains, it shows that massive robot. Like, he's not got guns or anything. It's like, no, he might have just been moving train cars around, but he's massive. So, you know, not something you want coming after you.
Right. And he can be like a mechanoid level type of thing.
Yeah. So that's how I was thinking. This AI lady got the whole city under control. It's just machines are scary. Don't have to have bazookas on them. But
well, because of a flaw in her programming, she may not be able to get anywhere but fully under her control except Arcadia. Because she's still focused on the doctor, right? That's all her.
Yeah.
All her calculations go towards the doctor, type of situation.
Yep. So she builds. Has robots built. Yeah, okay, so she could have robots built to like patrol the junk rusty area, and that facility where they get made might be a location we want to dig into.
And it's blamed.
Spot would be great.
The Warbot Factory. That's not how you spell factory.
Robots.
Robot.
Yep. And that works for there.
Oh, was that we were wanting something in the rusty area, weren't we?
Well, the Warbot factory could be there. One of the reasons that it might be rusty is not because of actually a problem with Mavericks, where we'll have to come up with a different name probably. But it's actually because she blames it on the Mavericks, but it's because of her. She doesn't care about polluting the rest of that area.
She's sucking up all the resources in that area.
Right.
Yeah.
It would be good if we had Lilith actually give the players access to Lilith's Tower. Not to the full part of Lilith's Tower, but it being a location... let me get that in there. A location that she has him, but he's at the top, and they've been like at the ground level of her tower that's in the Elysium portion. Not Elysium, Arcadia. The Arcadia portion. But everybody thinks Dr. Eli is dead anyway, or something. So they're not looking for it.
That's what I was going with.
Yeah. And so she actually does make contact with the players. I'm assuming the players are playing Reploids of some kind. Like, we can call them replicants, Reploids, whatever.
No. In mine, it was just humans. And they needed the good doctor to figure out how to go against the robots. But again, my setting was a little more simplistic in the sense it was just humans, basic machines. So, and then that one fancy AI lady.
Well, if we do it like that, it can still have Mega Man influences. That's like the 4th series or something. I was looking at the time things right, where the two protagonists take parts of old bots and they become like. They Super Sentai it. They transform and use their stuff. That's a possibility. We'll have to toy that out a little bit.
I wouldn't be opposed to all of the above being the most removed from the lore. Because you could have the fun thing with, like, do you trust the robot as a human? You got the cyberpunk elements, so some people could be a little built out, depending on how you want to play setting. But that would give a lot of options for the players.
And then if you got So I'm thinking if you got Reploids, but they'd be like, well, wait a minute, why aren't we just got humans suffering and barely surviving over here? You know, unless they were built into it. Because the thing about Reploids is that they were very human in nature was their thing. They were still machines, but their programming they could learn. They could do things, discover things, learn things, make their own choices. That was their big deal.
Well, X is the one that had full autonomous free thought.
Yeah.
And then I suppose you can argue that Zero did too, because he was modeled directly off of X.
Mm-hmm.
It was both of their final things. But the other Reploids had problems with going Maverick. It's like X can't technically become Maverick because he already has free will.
Yeah, well, it was the Sigma virus going around that was catching people. Or Reploids, not people.
And the Maverick virus is what mutates into the Sigma virus because of Sigma. So
okay, so I'm sorry. In the Sigma and the Maverick virus, the same thing. It's just worded depending on which game you're playing.
Well, the Maverick virus is
originated-
original. Yeah, it's the OG virus.
It came from. It was a Maverick virus in Zero, and then Sigma caught it, and then
modified
became
it for
Patient
himself.
Zero, basically. Yeah, and he started spreading it everywhere. Yeah.
And it spreads from bot to bot like a virus by proximity, apparently.
It's a virus in both meanings of the word, which is pretty cool.
And it eventually corrupts a bunch of stuff. Sigma's a long-running villain in several of the games. But
Yes. A little too many times, but yes.
well, I like to think that the Maverick virus OG is actually the transferred consciousness, part of some kind of transfer of consciousness by Wily into Zero.
That's the theory.
Yeah.
That is the theory.
Which works well with our rogue AI thing, that maybe Dr. Eli he's a little bit of both. He's a little bit of Wily, he's a little bit of Light. You know, he wants his wife back, so he feeds the data like people are doing today, feeds all the data of like her social media and herself and her diaries and stuff like that into the AI in order to give it human personality.
I like that, but if you do that, then you can't have him framed for her murder by the AI. So,
Well,
remember the AI was jealous because the wife's still alive.
well, you could. He's modeling it after his muse.
Yeah.
Wouldn't be the first time some dude's done that.
Dun, 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 dun.
All right. Let's see. Where were you? Warbot factory making war machines. What does that? What are we gonna call the rogue robots? Because we're gonna have rogue robots either way.
I was like, are the rogue robots if they're all bad? I mean,
Well, they can't all be bad because they're still like I said, street sweepers that ain't gonna do nothing.
yeah. Robots. I was trying to combine rogue and bot together. I was like, oh, that's just robot. That didn't work. Peacekeeper. Oh.
It's all about how you word it, right?
And this is our replacement for Maverick.
Yeah, we're trying. Well, he just named it Peacekeeper Factory, where I had the Warbot
Oh,
Factory.
we're the Warbot.
Yeah.
Sorry. Gotcha.
Well, something that goes with Lilith. Lilith's Peacekeepers or something like that. Can you have put Lil in a word somewhere without sounding like you're trying to say little?
Little bots.
Little bots.
Little bots. Maybe not.
I'm not sure.
Sounds like you would have had a toy line called Lil Bots, and then
Lil-
somebody years later
Yeah,
came up with the lore, and there was Lilith.
like micro machines, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. Well, we probably need to end this recording. I think with this new style, we're going to change up a little bit on the fly and start filling out everything we want to. And then we can still focus on one at a time. But if something comes to mind, we're going to go ahead and put that over in one of the other spots. That way we don't lose anything as we're going through. We'll make a note there. So if you see us make notes ahead of time, you can let us know if you like them or not in the comment section below. Even though we won't know because this is recorded ahead of time. But
That's true.
behind the curtain.
Time to do it live.
No! I can't do
Well,
it.
then you won't have
live.
to edit anything.
I also won't have any way to... I don't think people will sit and watch 4 hours.
You just have to stream every week now, 1 hour.
No. I did that for years for recordings. I can't do that.
Years. Well, I wasn't there for it, so you're lying.
I've got video evidence.
That's how it works.
I've got video evidence. All right.
It's AI generated. I don't believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
Retro. Yeah.
All right. Well, this is mainly what we have for Big Trouble in Little Mega City.
It's a nice start.
Yeah. And we will start filling out next time. Let me see. Next time is adventure hooks. Next, after that's characters, and then after that is items. And it's a bummer we only do 3 items because there's a bunch of cool items. But gotta make sacrifices. So tune in next time as we mainly focus in on our adventure hooks. You've already been getting sneak peeks at them. Before we close out, we gotta have Skrat's final question. I almost forgot.
Almost forgot.
Yeah,
I
we're gonna have a long
completely
episode
forgot.
this time. So,
Alright, so. That's actually a little warm when I do that. When running a game, how do you immerse players into a sci-fi setting specifically? Alternatively, what immerses you in a sci-fi setting, be it a TTRPG or other medium? You can answer either one or both.
okay, I'm gonna compress his question because I have to type all that stuff out on the question thing in the video. So his
did?
compressed question is,
What
how
immerses
do
you?
you increase immersion in a sci-fi setting? Do you want to go first or me, Dan? What you think?
If you have something off the top of your head, go ahead.
I think one of the most effective things is having appropriate visuals, and then after that, appropriate audios. So if you have, even if it's something playing in the background, like, I don't know, Daft Punk or something appropriately sci-fi, then, and not even full-on sci-fi, it can be kind of edgy, kind of on the edge of techno into something else, or just has enough beat boop type of stuff in it that it sets it off, like future stuff. You can do that. You can also draw from movies that they might know and have that as lead-in audio when someone comes to the table or when someone just enters the virtual tabletop. And then you can change it later if you want to. But I think the visuals actually do more than the audio in this case, because a lot of sci-fi that we see, like if you look at Prometheus, or you look at Prometheus, you look at Alien, you look at all those, there was like this industrial sound to it, but it was not overtly sci-fi in its stuff, so in its sound. So that's my thing. Appropriate visuals.
Yeah, that's good. I mean, off that, I was kind of thinking, as you're saying with the movies, like using tropes depending on what type of sci-fi you're doing in your descriptions or things like that. Because cyberpunk, you need like ad pop-ups in the middle of things, neon lights. It's got to be raining a lot. Sci-fi, just Google a couple like sci-fi words and throw them in your descriptions. I think for me that's the biggest thing, is flavoring your words to fit whatever setting you're in. So it's kind of more of a general thing, but I think that helps me with sci-fi, is getting in that zone of, because it's also NPCs, how they talk. They're going to talk slightly different depending on, compared to a fantasy setting, the way they're going to interact with things. I think that's the big thing, and just lean into the tropes, because it carries so much weight. It carries so much weight. Like Adam was saying with the movies, there's so much weight there that you only need to do a little bit, and it'll trigger people's minds with a whole bunch of other stuff that you don't have to put any effort into it. Just like I say, neon lights, ads popping up, and rain, and most people are going to be cyberpunk right away. It doesn't take too much. So I think, yeah, that's what I would say.
All right, what about yourself, Skrat?
We're talking about a game specifically, right?
Yeah, it was your question. Now you gotta answer it.
Well, I had more to it, but you stripped it down.
I have to type that up.
Took the clothes off, left it naked in the rain.
Naked in the rain. I was racking my brain if I've played any sci-fi TTRPGs. I know we're Craig, if y'all remember me talking about him all the time. He's firing up a play-by-post, and we've been experimenting, me, him, and some other folks, and I think it's just floating around in space, like in your spaceship, finding random things to go do, because like when you hit the planet, it's like, okay, whatever, but the mysteries of outer space, you know? And that's like No Man's Sky. I got a ton of bad things I can say about that game, but like when you're going through light speed or hyperspace or whatever they call it, and you just come across a random event like a freighter that's been shot to heck and back, and you're like, you know, it's like exploring the ocean or whatever, except you're in space, so, you know, the depths of space, finding random things floating around. It could be a monster floating through space, or the wreckage like I was talking about, or there was game Everspace 1 and 2. I barely touched 2, but Everspace 1 was kind of a randomized thing, and there was weird stuff you could find floating around in space, like old alien structures and stuff. It's like, that's cool. But you're in space.
Right.
Oh. Got your ship to worry about, you know, and your ship's like another character.
Yes. Yeah, that's a good point.
And we've touched on that on some of the next stuff before, but yeah, you know, you're in space. You can't get outside the ship. You're toast. So I think that's what does it for me. And robots. But I just like the robots. I don't know if that actually immerses them.
It might break your suspension of disbelief if there are none, because you're sad.
It's true. Well, you know, everything's... You know, the lack of people is what would immerse me in a science fiction setting. You know, just robots and automation everywhere.
We were trying to think of a name for the bad guys, bad robots, and I was like, I mean, if you're in the South, you can if you're in the South, you can often hear robots. And if you call them robots, B-U-T-T, you know, they're like, they're the robots. Robot head.
Could be the colloquial term for him that everybody else calls him.
Depends on if you want to go
very 80s.
You can either go OG Mega Man and do that, or you can be something a bit more serious. I think we're moving slightly more serious than robots. We're getting back into the building phase. We need to stop and sign this one off. So, there we go. Comment for this time. Robots with B-U-T-T-S.
Must have 2 T's.
That's right. Not 1 T, 2 T. They're robots. So, that's the comment.
That's perfect.
That means we're done with Kane, Councils of Kane. We're done with Skrat's final question. We're to the outro. We hope you've enjoyed. Check out the Planar Crossroads on YouTube, Rumble, BitChute, all those different places and stuff like that. InAPlanarCrossroads.com or theiopc.com, either one of those works. Check out Avenue Studios. It's avenuestudios.media if you want to check out their actual official website with the snazzy picture on the front with the dice. And then a Squirrel Plays on YouTube. haven't got him to cross post yet onto Rumble or somewhere else, to kind of get a flow with it. But he's on YouTube, so you can check him out on YouTube. And I watched his 3 helpful setting making methods this today to make sure I was caught up enough. And he mentioned sci-fi in there, so if you figure out one of the things that inspired his desire to even bother making up his story and setting, and check it out.
I started off in science fiction writing before I dove off into fantasy.
Before he dove off the deep end! But, alright. And also remember, check out Tales from the Dragon's Tavern over on YouTube, posting long plays of the One Ring 2E campaign that they're playing. So, check that out. And, as always, have a great day. God bless, and enjoy. Bye.
Bye.
This content was made possible by travelers and viewers like you. Thank you.
Alliteration. Lilith Legions.
Ooh.
I don't know.
There's
There's a little bit angel-esque thing with that.
Oh, yeah.
It could just be
like I went the biblical route.
the
with
legions.
Lilith.
Right?
It could just
She's
be
up high on
called.
the tower.
Yeah, it could just be called the Legion.
Yeah.
The Legions.
Could be something.
Like they would just call them, like, if they're sneaking around and they're like legions, but the full name is Lilith's Legions or something
Right.
like that.
But the average person and even the Maverick Hunters don't necessarily know that. That's
Right.
part of the mystery that they start to find out in the Rust.
Could go real like really lean into a biblical, and they always speak in like plural, like we are legion. They're just all like kind of one mind.
Because that's how she controls. That's how she's able to work them and control them.
Right. They're an extension of her. That could be.
Okay, we're getting back into the building phase. We
Nice.
need to
Yes,
stop
sorry.
and sign this one off.